Hello everybody and welcome to O-Tokusho. Today we're going to be doing our first reactions and sort of a review for One Piece Film Red.
It's a movie.
We just got back from it and we're not thinking on it at all. We're just going for it.
Yep, initial reactions to the movie, responses, no deep thoughts here, only kiddie pool thoughts.
Exactly. Just the scum off the stew, no bottom of the barrel sort of stuff here, because that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
You're barely reaching your ankle thoughts.
Exactly. So, initial thoughts, I think that the movie was a very good spectacle, it looked amazing, and it made sense as a movie, if that makes any sense.
Okay, my initial reaction to the movie is, I thought it was a good One Piece movie. As a standalone film outside of One Piece of the series, it was an okay movie. But by the standards of One Piece films, it was a good one. In my opinion, the best that I've seen. But I will say that I haven't seen Stampede, which Alex holds to be better, slightly at least.
Yeah. So let's sort of get into that. I guess there's the positives outweigh the negatives here, so
we'll get the negatives out of the way.
Yeah, I'll start with the negatives. I think that it was really fun that Oda convinced us, a bunch of big dumb shonen nerds, to go and watch like an hour and 50-minute
musical
pop idol performance. The songs were plentiful and maybe not always appropriate for the time and place that they were put in. I think Uta as a character was good. I just think that perhaps should have been something else there. She felt like she was kind of not a whole protagonist. Like when she kind of like turned and kind of went a bit like stir crazy about pirates and stuff like that, I felt like there might have been a piece missing there. Like for instance, when with like Zed, for instance, right? We know why he's doing this. And we don't have to like guess as to why, you know. But with Uta, I feel like you sort of see why, but then like later on in the movie, her motivations kind of
just get turned on their head when we realize that she's actually aware of what the truth was. Also,
exactly.
But she followed through with it anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Also, I feel like they tried following up with Stampede by having way too many characters. And the setting did not need
that many people.
Yeah, no.
It would have honestly just been fine with the Tri-Hats and Shanks' crew.
Yeah. We did not. I think Bartolomeo was a bit unnecessary.
Law just didn't need to be there.
The Big Mom Pirates.
Completely. No. As much as we love Katakuri, and he was only in the movie for like 40 seconds.
Very sparingly. But yeah, it was not necessary.
Yeah, completely unnecessary.
Honestly, I think the Blackbeard Pirates would have fit better as like a force trying to take...
Yeah, an evil group that likes to steal people's powers, because that's like their entire shtick.
As opposed to Big Mom, who just wants Uta because presumably for her collection?
Of some kind, yeah. And also like random thug pirates that have no names.
They appeared
completely pointless.
Shockingly a lot in the movie.
Yeah, like more so than Katakuri, which is just a shame.
Yeah.
My first complaint about the movie actually is the animation.
Really?
Yeah, so 85% of the movie looked fantastic. There was still that 15% that appeared a bit stiff and CG.
Oh, you're talking about Uta's dance performances, right?
Yeah, some of her dances were kind of bad, and honestly the whole intro sequence of the movie did not lend me to believing the rest of the movie looked great. Like the first 10 or 15 minutes, I think, looked pretty bad for the standards of a movie, in my opinion. They looked a bit too, over-textured and layered with geometric shapes and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, is this a fucking Miku performance? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. It was very much on brand for idol stuff, but that's not... It doesn't really fit with the other movies. But the quality kicked up much more later on into the movie, and I wasn't dissatisfied after that point. But there's some parts that I will legitimately say didn't look very good.
Yeah, I will say this. This is kind of a compliment thrown in here. I I know in my My Hero Academia movie review, I complained that the final battle was very, like, busy and kind of had a lot going on. It was like, you couldn't really see what was going on. The final battle in this movie was very... I feel like you could tell exactly what was going on.
Yeah, the color coding actually was really good for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
The costumes made it very easy to see who was where, even when they were zoomed out against the gigantic, Demon King or whatever that was summoned towards the end.
Yeah. Any more?
Any more complaint? Yeah. So I have one more complaint, which actually isn't really a complaint. The last complaint I have that kind of forgives itself because it's a movie is that this might be one of the more contrived stories that we've had in the One Piece universe. Like, a lot of stuff kind of had to go wrong for this to even happen. Because Uta's character didn't seem unstable. And in fact, they even had to explain in the movie why she started acting unstable because of the side effects of the drug that she was taking, or the mushrooms. So, like, her character didn't need to really go down this path, and a lot of stuff just seemed to kind of put itself in the way just so the movie could happen. Which, to be fair, is almost every single One Piece movie, so I can't actually, like, give it a negative for that, but I could just give the entirety of the One Piece, like, movies that as a blanket. Oda did do a good job explaining a lot of stuff, though, because he clearly had more forethought than a lot of the movies that weren't made with his actual artistic touch, which tend to be the worst movies they've made.
Yeah. I will say my final complaint is sort of about Uta's powers, like, in general. I can't really explain why, but this sort of thing, like... I might cut this bit out, but I'm just, like, trying to formulate my thoughts around it. I was thinking about, like, how her powers seem to be very, like, too much, right? Like, it's not just that her singing puts you to sleep. It's not just that she has this, like, alternate, like, soul dimension with, like, her powers. It's not just that, like, she's able to control the people whose, like, souls are unconscious based on her powers. It's also that she's able to awaken, like, some kind of
demon god
ancient
thing?
evil demon thing in this palace, and, like, also, like, all those things put together. Because, like, fucking Giltesoro, right? He just made gold. Bullet can just control machinery. Fucking Shiki, like, makes things lighter or heavier.
Arguably just has telekinesis, but yeah, on the box it makes things lighter and he can control them when he touches them.
But this was like...
This was closer to, like, Law's Devil Fruit's a level of complexity.
And, like...
We don't really need more of those.
Exactly, and I feel like it didn't really stick to a theme, like, unlike Law's Devil Fruit, almost.
Yeah, because Law's are all based on surgery for the most part, but hers are kind of based on singing and also not, because zombies aren't exactly something that happens in singing.
Yeah, and also, like, you can't really, like, because, like, the fact that Brook can use music to, like, influence people's souls sort of makes sense because he's basically just
a soul person.
Yeah. But, like, the fact that it transfers to, like, what Uta can do, and that Brook is unable to, like, affect it
interact with it, yeah. Even though his entire shtick is that he has full control over his own soul, to the point where even Big Mom has difficulty controlling him.
Exactly. So it seems as if they tried going for, like, too much, when maybe this could have been, like, 2 or 3 people?
Yeah, they could have scaled it down or made it multiple antagonists. In fact, they could have even made a secondary antagonist that was more intentionally evil than Uta.
Yeah, perhaps controlling Uta.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it was I guess it stems back to, like, Uta being the protagonist, is that, like,
you kind of have to add some stuff.
Yeah, you just have, like, unless you want to upstage Uta, which is kind of like that goes against the point of the movie, I think.
Yeah, literally upstaging in this case. And that's definitely against the point of the movie.
You'd have to, like, make her this all-powerful thing. But yeah, that's kind of all. That's the
last real complaint that we have.
Yeah, it's the bulk of my complaints about this movie.
Yeah, that's only 4 things. That's very good considering.
Yeah, oh my god, considering, like, what else, like,
what other One Piece movies are out there? Oh my, the sword one is probably my least favorite one.
Yeah.
I don't like the sword one. Talk about contrivances, holy shit. Alright, so let's move on to the good stuff. Alright, so my first good thing actually is going to bounce right off of what my last bad thing was, I actually thought the writing in this movie was surprisingly tight for a One Piece movie. So, I know how we just dragged on, like, Uja's powers being a bit too complicated and everything, but initially, upon watching the movie, I thought her powers were even more BS than they actually are. Turns out, she just has basically the infinite Tsukuyomi technique from Naruto with Madara. She puts people to sleep, gives them dreams that she can control, you know, and has, like, effectively godlike abilities inside of this world. And the moment I found out that they were just asleep and she was controlling the dreams, I was like, oh, okay. I understand, like, most of what's going on now. A complaint I was gonna have that was answered by this writing was, and this plot point was actually, I was gonna complain about all the technology she was using. Like, I know that One Piece is kind of weird about its technology in the world.
Especially right now.
Yeah, but in this point of the story, I don't really see anybody outside of Vegapunk having freaking giant stage lights the size of football stadiums with moving, you know, parts and everything. That seems a bit much. And holograms and everything like that, that just doesn't seem fully One Piece to me. But knowing that it's a dream and us panning out to the real world and seeing how literally none of that happened at all. There's no fancy lights, the stage doesn't move, nothing, like, there's no, like, magical floating things for people to see. There's no infinite food she can just create as an additional power. That made so much more sense, and I really appreciated that. That, and also, because of her, like, position in the story and relationship to Shanks, and, like, Luffy kind of letting it slip like a goofus, like, because of course he would, that made a lot more sense as to why the Navy was there, too. So, even though the Navy really didn't need to be there, it made sense why they were there. Law kind of made sense why he was there because of that tie into it. And the Big Mom Pirates are only forgivable as to why they're there, but they're not completely unforgivable, and I'll give them a pass, just because of the way the plot was set up. And I appreciate that. A lot of the One Piece movies do not give you that much to work with. Especially the early ones. The early ones were rough.
Yeah. I think the first thing I have to say about this movie that's like kind of a compliment is that I think you're right. The plot is very it's very tight. It's it just makes a whole lot of sense, and I like the mystery behind it too. Like why is Uta really just this powerful with her abilities? And then you probably could
have guessed. Yeah.
And like watching it again, you see the signs and everything. Like you see the storm and you see the sun and everything. You're like, oh my god, that's actually what's happening. Yeah. It's crazy.
And it sets up itself in the plot itself, so it's not just like a gotcha. It's literally just clues and pieces set together from a good story.
Yeah. And the whole, I think her plan is, very interesting and how different it is from other people's plans.
Oh, from the One Piece movies, for sure. It's unique in the fact that she's legitimately trying to help everybody, but in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
She's quite literally doing what Madara wanted to do. I know I'm bringing it up again, but that is basically the same plan.
Yeah. So her idea is to put all the people who are watching her shows to sleep into this dream world, and then these wake up shrooms, which keep her awake from keep her ability from turning off, and kill her eventually. So when she dies, then
they'll be stuck,
and her devil fruit powers will still keep going.
Yeah. Which means everybody gets to live in this utopian dream world where they have a perpetual concert with infinite food and happiness.
Yeah.
In theory.
In theory, yes.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, if I was in the position that Uta was in, I'd probably think of doing something similar, actually. If I had the ability to straight up Matrix everybody, more or less, I probably would. Now, the movie brings up a point that shows up in every single situation where this happens, where people randomly complain about stuff in the real world that they don't want to lose, like going to school, or working hard.
There were a few people who were complaining about,
I'll never be able to herd my sheep again and do all this back-breaking labor at the age of 7. I can't go back to school. I love school.
Yeah, the Koichi extra.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Who had fucking Koichi's voice for part 4? He was very adamant about going back to his sheep.
I know those people do exist in real life too, and there's something to be said about living a life with hardship, giving it meaning. But also, fuck those people. If you really have an option to in this case, literally save everybody from suffering for the rest of their lives. The only time it goes bad is when she starts going nuts and turns them into stuffed animals or whatever.
Which,
but like,
yeah,
that is a bit much when you become like an emotionless stuffed animal in a floating ocean. That sucks. But before, they had a good gig. They had a place where they could live with like an endless amount of resources, food, and people. Well, people to interact with. That's great. Like, it's just the, it's the Matrix, right? Would you or wouldn't you want to be in that situation?
And which is like a perfect foil to Luffy.
Yes, who's all about freedom as opposed, and freedom of choice, you know? Yeah. Even if they're bad choices, he still wants you to be able to
Which is why I thought it was a little bit strange that Luffy didn't outright say that, like, when Uda asks him why he wants to become Pirate King.
Yeah, like that was his goal.
He doesn't say that I want to be the freest person.
Man. Yeah, because he's said it multiple times already at this point. And in the series proper, he actually says it, like, right after the arc, when this movie roughly happens in the timeline, if it did happen.
Yeah. Which, I mean, as with all the movies, like, the events don't happen, but sometimes the characters are...
consistent? Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, considering that, spoiler alert...
Uda probably dies, like 99.9% sure.
Yeah. So she's probably not canon, or if she is,
she's
then,
post-canon.
Yeah, which is
Shanks had a daughter named Uta. It's a real shame for anyone who's a real big Uta stan, which apparently there are quite a few. A lot of people really like Uta.
Yeah, which I mean, there's quite a bit to like. She's she's a very appealing character design. It's a shame that she got rid of that puffy jacket like so early on. It
was a good jacket.
It was a very nice jacket. But I mean, like, yeah, she seems very likable. She tries her best to work with what she's got. But I mean,
yeah, she seems like a genuinely good person. She's just very misguided.
Yeah.
And also extremely guilt-ridden. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, so full of guilt. Let me see. Yeah, the anime, like I said before, the animation for most of the movie when she's not being Hatsune Miku is very nice, very appealing.
Yes.
We get those fucking Wano directors and animators.
Yeah, for the motion lines and some of the action scenes. Oh yeah, you could tell when the eyes got real bulged out and thick.
I do very much miss the Soro and Sanji versus the two officers fights that we get from a bunch of movies, but I'm willing to let it slide because it allows everyone else to have a bit more action.
Yeah.
Brooke gets some very good action shots, so does Jinbei.
I mean, we do get the cool comparison with Sanji and Zoro in the movie. So, for people who haven't seen the movie, there's a part at the end when they're supposed to synchronize their attacks. And in doing so, you see the real world and the dream world equivalents of each other. And I'm just going to say equivalents because that's kind of what they were going for.
So in the real world, we have the red hair pirates and Katakuri.
Yes.
And in the dream world, we have the straw hats
and Oven.
And Oven.
So when Oven attacks, Katakuri does because they're brothers. Not necessarily equivalent in power, but similar enough for them to work together.
We discussed that a little bit in the
Big Mom Pirates video. But we also have Luffy and Shanks, obviously the two captains, also have their own bond together, doing everything. But Yasopp and Usopp get synced up. That's really cool.
They talk for a little bit.
First time ever. Whether it's canon or not, Usopp got his licks in. He got to say like 8 words to his dad. That's pretty sick.
What did you think about the whole using observation hockey to communicate
between? I thought that was kind of bullshit, honestly. It didn't make much sense. There was a couple of things that didn't make much sense as far as powers, but I let it slide because it's a movie. Also let it slide because it was the dream world when it did happen. The biggest one being that Luffy lost his abilities when he was just wet and not actually submerged. That's just not how that works. We've done a lot of upsetting amounts of research on this
and
arguing extensively about how water affects Dofru users. They do not lose their abilities from just being wet.
Yeah,
because we've seen them fight in rain before. This just wouldn't make sense. And we already know seawater isn't exclusive. It can be any water.
Yeah, for reference, there is a part where some civvies...
Yeah, just splash Luffy with a bucket of water.
Yeah, and they're like, seawater weakens Dofru users.
And he does go limp and doesn't seem to be able to fight off anybody from that, which... I hope he was just humoring them, but I doubt that.
Yeah, no. but at the same time, it could have been Uta manipulating.
Yeah, his dreams and everything. Because he could have been unconscious immediately after their first song.
Yeah.
Because it's just after hearing the music.
Because they were all on the one, like...
and in the middle, really getting full blast. So. But going back to the fight scene at the end, though, with them synced up, I thought it was cool that Zoro was compared to Ben Beckman. They attacked the same... You know, they're second to command for both of their crews, first mates and all that. And then, Sanji was compared to...
Lucky Roo.
Lucky Roo, which also makes sense. He's the equivalent of third on their crew. The funniest comparison for me was Chopper, because he was just the guy with the monkey.
Oh my god, the monkey's name is, I think, Stronger, I think?
Yeah.
I don't remember the guy with the monkey.
Yeah, well, the guy with the monkey, I guess you could say, was Robin. Because Robin boosted Chopper, and then together was, like, the equivalent of those two.
She did, she went to her Gigantaflora form, and she did, like, a weird,
twisty, arm cannon thing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know.
We saw some cool-ass... That'll be a great thing to add as a compliment for anyone who wants to see this movie. There are some creative attacks in this movie.
Oh, yeah. They really don't, stick with the typical
the standard onigiri followed by the 1,000-pound phoenix cannon, and then Sanji constantly using flame shot or whatever.
I will say that is one of the strengths of the movies, is that a lot of the times they make up new attacks.
Yeah, and often they're unnamed, which I personally actually prefer. I don't like the fact that they name every attack ever in the anime most of the time, because naming attacks implies that these are practiced, unless it's Luffy, who's notoriously known for making up moves on the fly, doesn't really fit with everyone else's character. I don't see Sanji as a guy that just makes up attack names on the fly when he's in the middle of a fight for a woman's life, because, that's the reason he's fighting.
Speaking of that, Sanji does get a moment where he sees everybody and he's like, can't let a lady get hurt.
And she's just she says, no dialogue, just kind of nods with a smile, and then just floats off.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing ever.
Let me think here. Hold on before? Let me talk about something before.
The crew compared to other members?
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting scene.
There's a cool implication with that scene in the fact that Luffy, using his fully awakened mythical zone, should be, in theory, on par with Shanks using his Conqueror's Haki, because they were both able to do the same amount of damage at once.
Yes, we do get a quick glimpse
very
of Gear
quick.
5.
5 seconds.
The theater was very happy about that.
They actually cheered, legitimately. It was cool.
Our two friends who went with us who don't watch One Piece were probably very confused. But that's fine.
Yeah, they got to experience the joy vicariously through the rest of the people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Outside of some of the songs, which I thought actually were okay but not great, there were 2 songs that really slapped in my opinion. I liked the third song, which was the more kind of fast-paced, kind of rough-sounding fight song that she did when she, I think, transformed into her gear for the first time to take out those pirates that are trying to kill her. And the end possession song I think is pretty good too.
I think the songs were pretty good. I don't see them adding them to the soundtrack because they all have Uta's voice in them, which is a shame.
Oh, for the main show?
Because Stampede has a lot of songs that got put into
One Piece proper?
Yeah.
But they were more generic, so they were allowed to just kind of sneak them in there.
Yeah, exactly.
But this one's literally canon. It's supposed to be Uta singing. Wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah, exactly. There was a really good rap song, which I thought was very...
that was
very,
cool.
Good energy. None of the songs were, bad.
No, none of them were bad. I don't think they were all bangers, but none of them were bad. They were all serviceable. I
almost feel a little bit bad for for Amelie, the VTuber who has to fucking dub Uta. Oh. She was a voice actor before becoming a VTuber, but I mean,
that's what she's known for right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that brings up one of the funnier things in this movie, which is Uta as a child has the exact same singing voice as an adult. I laughed so hard, but I had to suppress it.
Yeah, I had to stop him from laughing.
It was so funny. Cause she's so pure, it's singing like a child's I'm gonna sing for my my everybody, and then just full grown woman voice. You're okay, You go, 7-year-old girl. Sure, why not?
I mean, like it would probably be weird if they tried like altering. I think the Japanese voice name. She's an idol named Ado, I think.
Okay.
So I think if they tried altering her voice, that'd be a little bit weird.
Yeah, or to like bring another voice talent into it, because it probably costs more just to hire another artist. The most maybe unintentionally funny thing in the entire movie for me is one of the instances of my favorite trope of all time, which often only ever shows up in Superman movies. But it's the trope of guys getting punched in the face with no reaction.
Yeah.
It's so good every time. Holy shit, that's funny.
So towards the end of the movie, the red-haired pirates show up, and Uta is not very happy to see them. So she sicks her
zombified civilians and
fans,
Marines,
on them, and because the red hairs are such badasses
and good people,
they don't attack any of them, and they're just getting like decked, but like they're not
taking any damage.
They're not reacting. No,
like they get scuffed, but they don't like bleed or take serious damage from anything. And at some point, the Marines start getting this interaction too, and you just see like he's like just dipping out and teleporting every time he's about to get mugged.
No, there's a part where like he's getting attacked and like he just phases through because he's a Logia.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's also that. But yeah, the guy's fist goes right through his head. Oh, it's so good.
Fujitora is a little bit too willing to like scrap when people are around.
Yeah, which is weird. He does stop himself at the very end. He's like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't fight Shanks now that there's people here." Even though before he wanted to fight Uta,
he really should have just like crushed it with gravity and then
been done with it. Also, like him wearing the visor was so funny. I'm like, what is that covering your eyes with, sir?
Yeah, so that was...
What is the point?
Well, so in order to counter her singing ability, which you got to hear her singing, they had like these visors that like covered your ears
and eyes. Yeah.
I don't think the eyes... I think they're just like... I don't know why they had eyes. Honestly.
Yeah, right? Like, they could have just been earmuffs at that point.
Also, it does make sense why Katakuri just like showed up and like didn't have anything, because like he just put...
Yeah,
mochi in his ears.
Or just made his ears disappear, because he can do that.
Well, I mean,
because his body's mochi, he can just straight up remove his own ears. It's weird, but
yeah, probably. But his mochi is able to block out Big Mom screaming. So
yeah, he does that canonically, so we can say that's the reason. But he could legit just like take his ears and twist them off, and it's gross, but he could do it.
Yeah, like Piccolo. In the
exactly.
movie.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what's wrong with you people on this planet? Yeah. So the movie was good, though.
Yeah.
What do you think you'd give it?
I'm hovering between like 7 and 8. I think I think the more I'll think about it, the more I probably will find things to complain about it with. But I think I won't. I don't think I dislike it more than any of the other like Oda written movies.
That's fair.
I think Film Gold was way too by the numbers. The only thing that movie has going for it is its setting.
The setting was very cool.
Yeah, but besides that, it's
very shiny.
It's very just like paint in the numbers and like One Piece movie.
Yeah.
Strong World is like okay. I think the setting is really good. The villain's pretty good, but like I don't know.
The plot was.
It's so basic. Yeah. Again, same thing with Film Gold. Film Z was a bit better. I like the villain a lot more.
I like the plot in Film Z a lot more.
The plot was really good. And then I think it goes this movie. And I think I like Stampede more than this movie, just because like of how Stampede is. It's just a fucking mess.
Yeah, okay. I think because even though I haven't seen the movie, I've seen the screenshots and I know what the general plot is. I'm imagining that these two movies, right, both have spectacle as a highlight in the fight scenes and everything. But Stampede, just because of the setup of the film, it being like this big battle royale, means that the spectacle by default is going to be a bit more.
Yeah, so it really depends on what you like. If you
prefer something a bit more light.
If you prefer fighting, then Stampede is definitely the way to go. But if you want a better story, I'd say go with this movie.
If I was more emotional, the last bit of the movie would have legitimately made me cry.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I have died and been sufficiently burned out with my nerve endings as a man. But
yeah, and nothing in One Piece will make me cry after what happened with Mary. So
sure,
I am checked out on that one.
I'd give it an 8, but my standards for things tend to be very low, so for anyone taking my advice on stuff like this, be very tentative. But I would still give this movie an 8, though. I haven't seen Stampede, and if I did see it, I also like the big fight, so I'd suspect that I would like it more as well.
Yeah. I might make Jack watch Stampede.
Yeah, and then we can review it after as well.
Exactly.
In the same vein as this. But yeah, that was good. Anything you'd want to change about the movie? Now that we get a little bit more, to the plot? Because this one actually is a good enough plot to justify it, too.
Yeah. If I had to change anything about this movie, I would say would probably reduce the amount of characters in it. And I think I would probably, like we said, add a second sort of... the Gordon character, for instance, I'd probably make him... Instead of being like just this innocent, like, bystander, basically. I'd probably make him more like a Grima Wormtongue, sort of like controlling from the back. Yeah. Character. Just so we have that like scene where maybe like Uta and Luffy can like team up and they do like the whole thing. Yeah, some type of redemption, for her, like legitimately outside of just her freeing everybody at the end. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's probably the one thing I may do differently about this movie, but. What about you, Jack?
For me, the one thing I would change about the movie, and it might seem kind of heartless, but I'd kill her faster. I legitimately think the death for Uta was a bit drawn out. Because at the point in the movie when they do the final attack and they destroy the Demon King or whatever, that seemed like a solid end to the movie. That would have been fine. We could have had like a post-narration with like seeing them trying to bury Uta or whatever, and then Shanks narrating over it about how she was like a great daughter and like had good intentions and ultimately wanted to change the world. But instead we're like, oh no, we're stuck in the dream dimension. Wait, Uta, you were supposed to die after that attack. Why are you still alive? She's like, I just really gotta sing like 2 more times, guys, okay?
Yeah, and they had a bottle of medicine for her.
And she just didn't take it. It's not even like she would have like immediately gone to sleep after taking it, I don't think, either. And even if she did, she could just wake up and resurrect everybody again. How long was she going to be out for, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, her death scene took too long. She had to sing to bring everybody back. And then after she brought everybody back, she sang again as, like, a eulogy to herself. Which, at that point, was a bit unnecessary. It got long to the point of kind of being irritating, for me, personally. I don't often like long goodbyes in movies, because in my opinion, it kind of belittles the feelings that we had developed for a character by kind of rubbing our face into it. Like, see, they're dying, isn't it sad? I'm like, yeah, I get it. It was sad, but now it's just kind of, I just want them to die already, and I don't think that should be a feeling you should ever have for a character you're supposed to relate to. But yeah, that's the only real change I would make. I just have Uta die faster. Which, immediately sounds terrible, but it makes more sense in context.
Yeah, what can you do? So yeah, that's that. Overall, I'd say, 7 to 8. It really just depends on what you like in a One Piece movie, but I would definitely recommend it.
Sure. Highly recommend for someone who hasn't seen it.
Yeah. Probably by the time this video comes out, it'll be out of theaters, which is unfortunate, but I mean, you just stream it or whatever.
Yeah. Then again, we also saw it as early as we could in America.
Yeah.
Because if you lived in another country, you probably would have already seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Japan and France, you saw it months ago.
Exactly.
Which is still weird to me that there's so many French One Piece fans.
Yeah, you sons of bitches.
No offense to any of our French fans.
A little offense.
Okay, fine. It's fine. American levels of offense to the French.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I promise the Big Mom video is going to be coming out soon. It's taking so long, but I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
It'll be worth it. Also, I don't think you're going to expect the end to be what you think it's going to be.
Yeah, probably not. And like I said, I'll probably get Jack to watch Stampede, and we'll put a video similar to this out. This will probably take, not very long to edit.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Not many things for us to really change here.
Yeah. If you like this video, like the video.
Subscribe. Do all the things.
I promise we're going to get more videos out. Podcasts should be coming back soon, if we have time.
Mm-hmm.
And give any suggestions for other kinds of content or any other movies we should watch.
Yeah, send them our way. Put them down in the comments. We'll be sure to read them and go through to see if we want to do any of those.
Yes, we have no reason not to read through the comments right now, guys. So take advantage of this while you can. And we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.